So in the video I'm about to upload, there is a color bar that's possibly related to this, however it's out of line. It's misaligned, as you usually will see. I'm referring to this movie. I think it came out in 1992. Stay tuned movie. And I think I left a video on there on one of these channels last night or the night before. I just watched this, haven't seen it in years. It's still pretty fucking enjoyable, in my opinion, you know, for just dumb comedies. It does star a pedophile, Jeffrey Jones, just so you know. In the other video, I called attention to lesser magic related to something very superficial that I know you know about, and all it is the house number at the beginning of the movie. Throughout the course of the movie, there's a number of moments where lesser magic occurs, where masters are dangling something in front of you. People just gloss right over because they're digesting the latest content. But in those days, it was considered media, as far as I'm aware. You know, or entertainment programming, blah, blah, blah. Either way. There's another moment when there's a Star Trek parody and reference where Jeffrey Jones is on a screen and they're talking about hell. And right next to him is none other than the symbol or sigil of Satanel, Saturnel, which relates to motherfucking Earth. That's something you're not spoon-fed. It's something people don't understand, and you and I are made from it. And that's another reason why you're not supposed to know about that. Our masters polarize us constantly. So they'll tell you all about the light, then they'll put things in the programming that speak against the light, but they won't tell you what you're made from. They won't tell you why they worship that. It's as superficial as it comes. It's just like people who squabble about skin color and other ridiculous shit. You and I are humans. You and I are made in a certain way, regardless. In other words, I'm a white dude. I can't be black in this life. That's just not how it works, and vice versa. So when you see something that's different, you know, like John Merrick, if I'm getting his name right, you know, the Elephant Man that became relatively famous because of a skin disorder. And I believe that's what it was, but maybe I'm wrong about that. Correct me if I am in the comments. But people freak out when things are different. That's just how it works. But that's because we're using our lowest chakras and blah, 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 and we're being very superficial and blah, blah, blah. So back to point. A lot of lesser magic in this movie is what I wanted to rattle off, but something that I forgot about and I glossed over is that John Ritter ends up in drag, which is something that people call shaming rituals and all that other stuff on the internet. But he does that not just once, but he does it twice in this film. And I did not remember that. Well, what I should say is I glossed over it. I do remember it, having watched it again. But before I popped it on, that wasn't something that stood out to me. And yet, I figured that it would have. After I watched the movie again, I was shocked, especially when it popped up the second time. I think that's when it really set in. And then after the movie finished and the credits rolled, I was shocked based on social engineering agendas that are alive and well today that are really fucking with the brains of the masses. And they don't realize it. They're buying into it. And all I could think was, holy fucking shit. Usually that would occur in some of these earlier movies once, not twice. Because usually when things are echoed, usually it would be in the sequel or it would be in something else related to it. You know how they release a number of movies at the same time. What would it be? Point Break and Terminator 2 and all the shit that came out in 91. In other words, you'd see similar themes in all of those movies to varying degrees, but it's behind the scenes. It's not on the superficial surface, which is what people are being spoon-fed today, and that's why they think that they're so, you know, woke and, you know, brilliant, because they're being told something flat out. It's not something that they have to work for. And that also speaks to the superficial aspect of what I was getting at earlier, having to do with Satanel, Saturnel, fill in the fucking blank. 1 second. So I was shocked that he ended up in drag twice. One of the times involved salt and pepper, which is funny if you think about it. I don't think that was a mistake. And Spinderella, don't forget. It's like sine, cosine, and tangent with that shit. But but I'm pretty fucking sure that's also an act of lesser magic related to that jazz. And the scenes are funny. The scenes are very funny. The initial one where he winds up in fucking drag is a drag. It gets drawn out, in my opinion. It does shake some stuff up. It isn't just the usual boring shit that you usually see Hollywood crap out these days, in my opinion. They do shake it up a little bit. Yeah. Either way, that's pretty much what I wanted to rattle off because it didn't leap out at me. I didn't remember it the way I figured I would have based on what I've lived through these days. And that got to me in a different way. That's why I'm mentioning this more than once and why I'm stressing this. In other words, it made me reevaluate what I constantly echo, pull my head out of my ass. I was excited to watch this movie after not having seen it for so fucking long. I don't think I've seen it since the 90s. And I remembered it quite well because I used to watch it a lot. At least that's how I think it worked. So having done so, I used to know, channel to channel, if you guys are familiar with the movie, how things went. I mean, when I watched it again, it was all very, very fucking familiar. But I was shocked, just absolutely shocked that wasn't one of the first things that came to mind prior to hitting play. That's what I'm trying to spit out. Oh, and Dokes is in it, which threw me off. I didn't recognize Dokes from, the Dexter TV show based on the adaptation. It's an adaptation from the books. Lindsay, is that? Yeah, it's Lindsay. Is it Jeff Lindsay? I'm trying to remember the author's name. The books are actually pretty good, the first couple. But, Dokes, surprise, motherfucker. That's exactly what he did to me. And he's got more of a, kid and play. His haircut's more like in line with that, which cracked me up. And he's one of the managers of hell.